The move that is still reverberating throughout the baseball world, the Diamondbacks signing Corbin Burnes to their largest contract in franchise history, 6 years, $210 million, comes with some ramifications, some roster fallout. Somebody's going to be left without a seat at the table. That is the Diamondbacks starting rotation in 2025. We know Corbin Burnes is going to be at the top. We know Merrill Kelly is going to be at the top. I'm still on the fence of whether or not Zac Gallen is going to be at the top of that rotation. We will get into that here in a second. Brandon Pfaadt's going to be there. This team, Eduardo Rodriguez is going to be there. This team, arguably, is going to go into 2025 with one of the best rotations in all of baseball. They are going to be a topic of conversation. They, right now, as we sit, have the depth. They have the top-end talent. They have an ace. Corbin Burnes is an ace. Zac Gallen, I think there's a ongoing debate, ace or not an ace. I'm in the ace camp. I think he's awesome, but he does have his moments, his stretches where he doesn't look like that ace. Corbin Burnes is a bona fide ace. Ace. Left Milwaukee, went to Baltimore, new team, new division, new opponents, dominated. Absolutely dominated the American League in a one-year stint with the Baltimore Orioles. He still is in his prime. He still is in his peak. He is the top free agent available this offseason. The Diamondbacks landed him. This isn't signing Zack Greinke when they signed Zack Greinke. Corbin Burnes is more at his peak than Zack Greinke was when Greinke signed with the Diamondbacks. This is not signing Eduardo Rodriguez, a veteran starter at the back half of his career, to be a dependable veteran back end of the rotation piece. This is an ace. This is a Cy Young candidate. This is a guy that is going to be mentioned with Zach Wheeler, with Aaron Nola, with Shohei Ohtani, with Yamamoto, with the elites of the elites in the National League. Corbin Burnes is going to have a seat at that table. That's how good he is. So be excited about his presence. We said that yesterday. Puff your chest out a little bit this week. But there is some fallout to this. Somebody's not going to be on this team next season. One member that is currently a part of this rotation or this group of starters is going out the door. And there are three candidates that I think jump off the page as potential guys to get moved before we get to pitchers and catchers reporting to start the new year. It's Zac Gallen, it's Jordan Montgomery, and it's Ryne Nelson. And with all three of those guys comes a unique conversation. They each present their own set of pros and cons as to who makes the most sense to go out the door. And by the time after I lay out all the cases here for these guys, I will tell you who I think the Diamondbacks would be wise to move on from. We'll start with Zac Gallen. He's the best pitcher of the three guys that could be moved. He's the guy that would impact 2025 the most. You are taking your number 2 starter out of the rotation. You are saying we are moving our number 2 starter. Again, I just said the Diamondbacks are going to be in the conversation, have one of the best rotations in baseball, and part of that is Zac Gallen. So removing him from this equation forces you to take a small step backwards. But we know he is a free agent next year. We know that you just paid Corbin Burnes $210 million. I know $60 million of it is deferred. I know there's an opt-out after 2 seasons. I know there's no guarantee that he is going to be on this team beyond 2026, but he's going to be on the team in 2026, and it feels unlikely that you're going to be able to carry the burden of a Corbin Burnes deal and a Zac Gallen deal. Doesn't feel very likely. So a guy that's probably going to see himself out one way or the other at the end of 2025. You can make the case that Zac Gallen would bring back the best return in a trade, and he also would shed the most money. His arbitration estimate for this year is $14 million. That's how much you would shed if you moved him in a deal. So there are the pros and cons for Zac Gallen. Let's do Jordan Montgomery next. This is the easiest guy to move because he doesn't cost you a whole lot in 2025. I think if Jordan Montgomery's on this team, he's probably not a member of the rotation in 2025. He is a long man, swing man, out of the bullpen opener kind of thing. That's the role that I would put him in 2025. You weren't counting on him to be in an impactful role before you signed Corbin Burnes. You've now added Corbin Burnes, moving him further down the depth chart. Now you have to eat the money. You have to probably eat half of the contract. You still get salary relief. He's owed $22.5 million. Let's say you paid 12 of it. That frees up $10 million. That brings you closer to 2024 numbers in terms of what your payroll is. You are not going to get anything back in return for Jordan Montgomery. So you got to eat at least half the deal more than likely. You're not going to get a whole lot in return for him, but he's the easiest guy to move, and he does the least to rock the boat for your 2025 outlook. And then there's Nelson. This is the player that probably has the most upside under team control beyond this season. Doesn't have the free agency cloud hanging over him the way Gallen is. Isn't a veteran who underperformed like Montgomery is. He would bring back probably the most haul, young, controllable starting pitching. It's not going to be the Garrett Crochet deal, but you're going to get something of value back for him. Doesn't cost a lot, under control, young, checks all the boxes for what teams would trip over each other to go out and acquire via a trade. But Nelson's the guy that you probably would want around here if Merrill Kelly leaves in free agency at the end of the year. If Zac Gallen leaves in free agency at the end of the year. When this Eduardo Rodriguez deal doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't pan out, but it expires, right? He's entering year 2 of a 4-year deal. You want Nelson to be here when that deal's over. Corbin Burnes, what if he opts out in 2 years? You want to have guys in-house. So he is the safety valve. He is that safety net. You would hate to trade Nelson and then this offseason watch Gallen and Kelly both walk and lose 3 guys of your rotation for 2025 or 2026, excuse me. So there are pros and cons to all 3 of these names. Longtime listeners of this program know where I stand on trading or not trading Zac Gallen. Longtime listeners of this program know that I have been in favor of trading Zac Gallen, that I think you need to get in front of this. You need to get something for him before he just walks away in free agency. You add Corbin Burnes, I think that opens the door for me to change my opinion a little bit. You add a bona fide ace to your team, you signal to me maybe a different approach than I was expecting you to take this offseason. I think that allows me the opportunity to change my mind. You've convinced me. So I'm going to amend my Zac Gallen position just a little bit. Because of these 3 pitchers, the person that I would be blowing up other general managers' phones over, and I would pay as much of this contract as possible, take Jordan Montgomery off my hands. I'll pay $15 million of the deal. Whatever I can do to remove that logjam. But I'm not trading Ryne Nelson. That's the one non-negotiable here. I am not moving a young, under control, cost-controlled starting pitcher who can help me navigate whatever chaos next offseason is going to bring. Again, when you are a general manager of a sports organization, you have to look beyond just the season you are playing in. It is Mike Hazen's responsibility to look beyond 2025. He has to look at 2026. And guess what? We are speeding down the highway towards a 2026 where Zac Gallen isn't on this team, where Merrill Kelly isn't on this team, and you are 1 season away from Corbin Burnes opting out of his deal. You need to have in-house options. You need Brandon Pfaadt. You need Ryne Nelson. You need those guys in the building as those safety nets. So Nelson, not happening. Unless you blow me away with a Garrett Crochet level return, and that's not happening, I'm good. I'm not trading Nelson. Zac Gallen, we are pivoting our position a little bit. We're going to see how the first half of the season plays out. We're going to see where this Diamondbacks team is when the All-Star break rolls around, when we get to Memorial Day, right? Memorial Day is the date that everybody kind of circles on the calendar. We kind of know what a team is by Memorial Day in baseball. Okay, where are you at on Memorial Day? Where are you at the All-Star break? Where are you at around the trade deadline? If you're in it, if this bet on run prevention in the National League West pays off, and you're in the thick of a division race, you've got a hold on a wild card spot, then we're going to see this thing through with Zac Gallen. But if you're not, if injuries pile up or you get an underperformance from your offense, but Zac Gallen's having a great season, yeah, we're going to pull that ripcord and we're going to move him at the deadline. So of these 3, it's Montgomery, Gallen, Nelson for me. That's the order that I would move these guys right now before spring training begins. That's the order. Montgomery, thanks but no thanks. I don't need you on this team anymore. You were not a factor in this rotation before signing Corbin Burnes. Now that Burnes is here, it is very easy for me to help you pack your bags, pay your flight, pay for the Uber, pay for the apartment in the next town, and say, see you later. It's the easiest move. Yes, it requires a lot. You're not getting a ton in return, and you're going to have to eat a lot of the money. That's the cost of doing business. That is the cost of that mistake. But you already showed a willingness to take on even more money than anybody thought you were going to take with this Corbin Burnes deal. Even with the deferrals, even with the way it is structured, it is still the biggest contract this team has paid out. It is still going to cost them $20 million this season for Corbin Burnes. Their payroll is going to be the highest it has ever been. 2025 is going to see the Diamondbacks have their highest payroll in franchise history. You're already all in. The chips are all in the middle. So why wouldn't you say, you know what? I've got to pay you the 22.5 either way. I'll pay you 15 to go away, and I'll free up $7 million. Or I'll pay 12 of it, and you just see what a team is willing to take on. There's not a lot of starters left in free agency. Jack Flaherty's the big name still out there. Everybody's waiting on Roki Sasaki. That looks like it's going to go right up to that 123 deadline. And oh, by the way, Diamondbacks might still be in the mix there as well. So the order for me of who's outgoing for the Diamondbacks, because somebody's got to go. Not enough seats at the table. Montgomery, Gallen, Nelson. Montgomery, easiest guy to move, the least amount of impact on 2025 because you've told me you're going for it. You just signed Corbin Burnes to a $210 million deal. You traded for Josh Naylor. You're betting on a Corbin Carroll bounce back. You got an MVP candidate in Ketel Marte. You're doubling down on your pitching philosophy. I still think they're going to go out and add another reliever. At this point, if you've already blown over your budget for 2024 or for 2025, you might as well just keep going. Now, within reason, but you might as well go out and spend on a reliever. If you're going to do it all the way. So why not trade the guy who does the least to impact your outlook for 2025? Nobody's projections on what the Diamondbacks are going to do in 2025 are predicated on Jordan Montgomery's role or how many games Jordan Montgomery appears in for the Diamondbacks. I'll tell you what, though, it does matter how many games Corbin Burnes appears in. It does matter how many games Zac Gallen appears in. So I would think long and hard before upsetting that apple cart. Now, if you get no takers on Jordan Montgomery, then you might have to think long and hard about trading Zac Gallen. But the moves that have been made so far tell me they're going to probably give this a run. They're going to give this until the trade deadline. They're going to give Corbin Burnes, Zac Gallen, 1-2, the top of the rotation, a shot, a chance to dominate. This team won 89 games a year ago. 89 games. World Series appearance 2 years ago, nearly a 90-game winner last year. Why wouldn't you see this through? Again, I have changed my position on this. I thought there was no way they were going to be able to do this. I did not expect them to blow past their 2024 budget, which was already the highest in team history, to land Corbin Burnes. That is a move on this chessboard I didn't see. I didn't see Mike Hazen sitting across from me making that move. I didn't see it. So now that we are here, we are in this new reality, we're going to pivot a little bit. And we're going to say, give this a run through Memorial Day. See if a team wants Jordan Montgomery now to free up that roster spot and to free up a little bit of money. Get yourself closer to the 2024 number. But somebody's got to go. You can't carry 8 or 9 starters. I just don't know what you're going to do with everybody. So somebody is going to be on the go before we get to spring training.